I'm Tesla, and this is Magically Mindful. Here I share my journey of growth and what it means to live authentically through life's polarity, the messy and the magical, the highs and the lows, and everything in between. Think of this as an open diary for your soul, here to remind you that you're never alone. Alyssa, welcome back to Magically Mindful, the podcast. You were my first ever guest back on the pod. I just double checked. It actually was December 2023. So
Wow,
that's so crazy.
that's wild. I was just talking this morning telling everybody, I was like, I get to return celeb status.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you so
So
much for
excited to
having
have
me.
you. Yes, of course. And I just feel like you are such a light in my life, and there's just been so much like transformation and evolution, since we first did that
Yeah.
episode, which I will have linked for anyone that wants to go and hear more about your journey up until that point. But I'm so curious to just kind of dive in and pick your brain about all of the magic that has unfolded in your life, because I feel like you were at a different place at that time compared to
Oh,
now, and just like how you've stepped into your power so much. So talk to me about that.
I love that. Thank you so much. It's actually been such a journey. And I remember on the last episode, I was trying to be a dog care provider, and I realized that that journey was actually an inner journey. I wanted to figure out how to tame my own dog, both my physical dog that I have and also the inner dog within me because she needed help too. But, you know, where I'm at now is that this entire journey that I've been on has brought me really deeply into spirituality and into like what I believe that you reflect to the world. It's like teaching myself to love myself in all ways, shapes, and forms, and every essence, no matter what, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What has that looked like for you?
Oh, God. It's looked like crying to the point that I can't breathe. It's looked like anger, and which I've tucked away a lot. It looked like feeling all emotions and finding acceptance for every emotion and every piece of me, every version of me that has continued to show up telling me, like, hey, I want to be seen now. Hey, I need you to hear me. Hey, I need
Mm.
healing. You know, it's looked like all sorts of confusion, all sorts of like misunderstanding for what it is that I truly want. And it's also been a lot of discovering where I'm going and how to just trust the flow of life, trust the flow of source, and recognizing that no matter where I am in life, I will always be provided for, protected, and cared for, and loved and nurtured because I got to create that within myself.
Mm. So beautiful. And I mean, I think the most amazing thing to me, and I'd love for you to share how you that bit of time where you had started a job, but then you chose to like step away from it, and then you ended up getting a home with one that you don't have to pay rent for. Can you share
Mhm.
that experience?
Um, you mean my dog walking job? I don't.
Well, no, I think it was when you were actually like hired by someone. I think it was like something of the nature of like peer support,
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah. So,
and just kind
so
of your mindset through all of that.
my mindset has been, I want to say, learning to study myself. I think that in all experiences and all surroundings, it's like life teaching you stuff. Like we're in school all the time, whether we recognize it or not, because we're learning life lessons through every experience that we have, right? So being hired at that job after deciding when we were in school doing the entrepreneurship, after deciding that I wasn't ever going to work for anybody again. So I went and I did the peer support in an area of life that I had experienced in addiction and substance use and everything. And being there taught me a lot about how far I've come and how strong I am. But it made me recognize being in that space that I have choice. Like of course, I'm willing to try. I'm willing to try everything because how do you know if you don't give it at least a shot? But I now have choice to recognize if something is for me or if it doesn't feel for me. I also have choice to leave. I'm not stuck anywhere, you know? So I think that experience alone really taught me that one key is that I have choice, which is something I didn't feel or I didn't know that I had growing up. I just kind of went with whatever everybody else told me to do. And that was the end all or be all for me. That is just what life did. And doing that experience also like gave me the confidence to step out of my comfort zone a lot more and put myself in spaces that might feel uncomfortable to like another extent because I recognize that everything is to help me grow.
Yeah. And speaking to that experience, like, can you describe it a little bit of like what had happened?
Mm, Well, I thought that peer support would be more like speaking with people, helping them through their, I don't know, maybe bad days, good days, whatever. But it was more being placed in surroundings to make sure that people didn't overdose. It was more viewing substance use and being surrounded by it. So it was actually really heavy. But thankfully, for all of the tips and tools I've learned over the year, I was able to step away and go to the bathroom and do my exercises and breathe and like calm myself down when I would start to feel my volcano start to rise. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm in danger. I'm in danger. I can't be here. I can't be here. But stepping away from it was nice because then I was able to center myself. But through the whole thing, like everybody, whether they were using drugs or it was somebody that I was working with, like everybody in that space is so loving, despite the fact of where they're living or the place that they're in their life or how it feels inside of them. It's like still they're welcoming, they're loving, they're caring, they're kind as long as you reciprocate that.
Yes. And I think like when I think about like what stood out to me with that experience, because you were in the midst of like manifesting a home to call your own. And so I know you had said something about that you were not wanting to have to necessarily start working for that money to just then be spent on rent. And then I feel like something so serendipitous unfolded, which was you then found a home that you don't have to pay rent for.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. I feel how Source showed up for me there with the peer support and with my home. Both things came knocking at my door. Like I showed up, I did what my heart told me, what my calling told me. It told me just show up. All you gotta do is show up. So I built a cover letter that explained my life and why I would be right for the job. I went downstairs, I handed it in, and 20 minutes later, or maybe an hour later, they came knocking on my door. And they were like, "Yeah, we want to hire you. You start next week." And I was like, "What?" And that was the first experience. I was like, "They're knocking at my door." That's it. And then with my house too, it was so funny because for 9 months I was searching for housing because I was living in a shelter. And then literally on the day of 9 months, I had talked with my building because there's another side that is transitional. And so I had talked with them and I explained that I need a space to create. Like I'm just working on my mental health and becoming who I am. And I need a space to create. And I feel safe here. This is my safe space. So then again, and again, like a few days later, they came knocking on my door. Boom! Everything you asked for knocks on your door. But it blew my mind because I was not expecting everything to align. But literally that week, somebody else had moved out, and I just took a shot. I just spoke up for myself and explained that I need a place to stay and that I'm not ready to move away from here. There's still more learning for me to do here. And yeah, now I live rent free. Now I live rent free, and I'm just, it's given me a space to really discover myself and get to know myself without worrying about all the extras that come along with being an adult, you know? Mhm.
Yeah, that's a huge blessing. And like, what has that experience been like, just getting to really live such a present life and just being in nature so much because you are living in British Columbia. So that's just
Mhm.
like nature is everywhere. And I know, like, yeah, I'd love to hear about, yeah, what that experience has been like and how it feels and just kind of what it all looks like too.
It's been so beautiful. Looking back on it now, it's been such a beautiful experience because so many times I've been challenged in ways that maybe at the time I didn't want to be challenged or I wasn't willing to challenge myself. But I realized at the beginning of this year in January, I set a goal for this year, an intention for this year to make myself top priority over everybody and everything. In January and February too, I cut everybody off, including my family, my mom, everybody. They were not happy, but I did it anyways because I realized that I had been conditioned to people please. And I had built comfort in people pleasing, whether it was a safe space for me to be or not. And to the point that I feel that my people pleasing was more wounded because I would give with neglecting my own self. Now, by taking this time to myself, and it's really taught me to choose myself, regardless of everybody else. I love and I care for people so deeply. But the fact that now I have the confidence and the recognition that I am worth my own time and attention. Your two most valuable assets, and I am worth those. And it's taught me to have boundaries around that, around this peace and the energy that I've created for myself. And sometimes it looks rocky, and the surroundings that I live in are not for everybody because it is a substance, what is it, harm reduction building. So they are trying to help people get into treatment while they're still using. So it looks rocky sometimes, and definitely not everybody would be able to live there, but it's also taught me like so much strength lives within me to be able to be surrounded by something, a surroundings that once was my life, right? And now I think that's the
Mm.
hugest or the biggest big huge confidence booster that I can stand in my own power. I can stand in my own power and be this beam of light for people who were once in my or who for people who were once where I once was. And now today it's so rewarding because how it's unfolded is I've connected so deeply with my spirituality. The experiences that I have today are like unbelievable. Literally, like you can tell people about it and they might think you're wild, but like that's okay because like I feel like I'm in my purpose. I feel like I'm here for a purpose and I'm doing what I need to do in my purpose. So it almost feels like source put me here specifically to be a beam of light in a dark place.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that, and that is such an incredible thing. Like, I love how you explain that because it's like, yeah, the contrast of where you once were to where you are now. And I would love to explore just what your relationship is like with source and like how you, because I mean, yeah, with as part of your evolution, even just on social media, like you are sharing a lot, like if it's about numerology or doing like channeling sessions with people. So, yeah, let's explore that a little bit.
So my relationship today with Source is it's so incredible. Like I live in the spirit realm. I literally live in the spirit realm. And I think that's really important for what I'm doing here because everything that I'm creating, designing, and behind the scenes, um, is unseen. I don't have the fruit of my labor in my hand right now, everything that I'm creating, but I have the experiences. And what Source has taught me is to look at the world from a higher perspective. So we work in the fifth dimension a lot, and in the fifth dimension is more where instead of you are in the third dimension, you're experiencing life. You are the physical experience of life. Everything you live through is a lesson for you to learn from. When you get up to the fourth dimension, it's more of confusion where you're confused with what's real and what's not, and you're confused if you should do this or if you shouldn't do that. That's been my experience. Now in the 5D, like it's almost like a bird's eye view when they talk about being one with God and religions. This is literally the life that I feel. And what Source has taught me for myself is that God is not outside of us. We are all gods. We have that power. Everything that we think God can do for us, we have the power to do within ourselves. And having this connection with Source has taught me that I'm the designer of my own life. And when it comes to like the manifestation part of it, like before I used to hear people talk about like when you go through life, pretend that you're already living that. You're already living the life that you want. Now it's like, I get that because every experience that I have right now, I'm manifesting a partner. And every experience that I have, I recognize little pieces and it shows up in my mind's eye that I'm projecting little, what do I want to call it? I recognize that I'm projecting little tiny increments and they're all little tiny hints for what I'm creating and what I'm magnetizing. So it's almost like I am literally living my future every day with the awareness that my future is on its way, with the awareness that all things that are happening right now are a manifestation for what I'm creating a year from now or 6 months from now. It's been really just so enlightening. So enlightening.
Mm. Wow. Yeah, it's definitely such a gift. And I mean it is really fascinating because anyone can tap into that, but I'm curious to know how do you nurture that experience in that relationship so that it's essentially like it's a constant for you because like you had said you're like I basically live in the spiritual realm, so what sorts of things if any do you find help you to keep like strengthen and continue that?
Solitude has been a really big thing for me. I've never spent so much time with myself. But also with solitude comes silence. Like I said at the beginning of the year when I chose me, I spent almost, besides taking my dog out and going to eat, I spent almost all of January meditating in my bed, literally doing nothing, staring at the walls and seeing what the walls spoke to me about myself. Um, but really just like they call it laziness, but when you sit in solitude and in silence, you will, and especially past that little line that tells you I'm bored, I need to do something. When you sit beyond that little line, then you start to get in your own mind. Then the outside influences that we take in. Yes, it's so nice to have outside opinions on things, but when we sit in silence by ourselves in solitude, we are there with our own mind, our own thoughts, our own feelings, our own intentions, everything that we actually want without every projection from the outside world or limitation from the outside world. So I find that getting quiet with myself, and not everybody has a whole month to sit at home and meditate, right? But when you get that time, even if it's just for a day, if you dedicate a day to yourself, no technology, nothing to really distract you except your own four walls, that may make you feel like you're going crazy because, well, like, what do I do now? But we have become so caught up with distraction that we have forgotten to pay attention to ourselves, our own feelings, our own words, our own soul's calling, our own mission. And that has caused us to want to be everything for other people, everything to create other people's dreams. And that's caused us to get comfortable in a place that is working for something, yes, but a lot of times it doesn't end up being working for something that's aligned with where we're going. Um, because we get stuck in the part of it where we try everything to learn and grow. But we're not meant to stay in everything forever. We're meant to take the lessons that we learn from the experience, and when the experience is over, instead of staying because it's something we know and something familiar, we're meant to move on to the next thing and take our lessons with us. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. How do you set boundaries even with technology? And I kind of have a two-part question just about social media as well, because I feel like when we first met, like I don't know how long after, but you were like slowly kind of getting into wanting to create, but
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there was just it was such a new thing. I don't know if hesitancy would have been the right word, but I can
Yeah.
just see like how like your confidence in that area has grown so much, and like it definitely supports your consistency with how you show up online, because I can just tell that I don't even think you give it a second thought. You're like, okay, as soon as I feel inspired, you just get on and you post it and you
Mm-hmm.
share it. So, yeah, that's kind of where my two part comes of like the boundaries with it. And then also how, I guess, how did you grow your confidence with showing up online?
For the boundaries piece of it, I love being seen these days. I love being seen. So when I have to set those boundaries with technology, I have to literally put all, including my musical speaker. Like, I gotta put everything in a drawer. I gotta turn everything off so that when it comes time, like, I'll get an idea or whatever, and I'll be like, oh my God, I should post that. But I've turned all my technology off, and I'm like, it's a reminder. Oh yeah, I've taken this day for myself. And then I remind myself, I am content. Like, everything I share, even just by myself, it's not like I can't recreate it again because this is me. It's coming from me. This is me. So I can do it at any time. And that's when I get to kind of tap into the moments with me And sometimes, like I'll even be content in the mirror because I'm taking a break from the phone. The rest of the world doesn't need me as much as I need me right now. So if I really desire it, I'll just talk to myself in the mirror. Mirror magic is magic. And then, so
Mhm.
the other part of it, building my confidence, this was a big piece of one of the versions of myself that I had to call home, call my power back to me. I didn't realize how afraid I was to be seen. I didn't realize how afraid I was to be heard because growing up, that part of me was shut down with people pleasing. I wasn't seen or heard. Um, not to myself anyways, not truthfully, not the innards of me, the shadow side of me that is magic today. And I guess the confidence actually came when I decided that fear was no longer going to be a reason I didn't do something. I decided that fear is not something that's meant to be a barrier, it's actually meant to challenge me. And there's a difference between fear of a bear chasing you, and there's a difference between a fear of judgment or a fear of ridicule or a fear of being seen or a fear of being heard. And those little things that we can do as humans, recognizing that fear is just a challenge to level up, uh, that's what really brought my confidence. And even today, sometimes I'm like, no, I can't share that. But I'm like, you know what? At the end of the day, my people are magnetized to me. Anybody who has any sorts of unhelpful comments, I just recognize that maybe they're not at the space in consciousness where I am. Maybe they have a different point of view. Not all of us are meant to align, right? That's actually what you taught me, is that not everybody's meant to align with us, and it's okay to let people go. But
I really appreciate you sharing that. And I just think it's so amazing. And yeah, I think just, I love how you said that, like your people are magnetized to you because it's just such a powerful reminder that, like, how important it is to be ourselves because, yeah, people will or will not resonate with us. And, you know, our authentic self is needed in the world. Like it's so important. And I guess kind of on that note, because we're nearing the end of 2025, do you have any like intuitive feelings or like just yeah, I guess feelings or ideas of like what 2026 will bring and maybe how it might be different from 2025?
hmm. Do you mind if I take a couple breaths and ask Source?
No, not at all. Please. It feels to me like 2026 is going to be a year where explosions happen in the form of like fireworks, where all of our lives start to evolve in a way where we recognize that the things of 2025 were all to prepare us for a huge evolutional change. Like we've been stuck in paradigms for far too long that haven't benefited us for this next stage of life. And I feel like 2026 is going to be such a big shift for all of us because it's forcing us to face fear, demons, all the things that we have created to be a block. That veil is becoming very thin, and we are letting go of what no longer serves us, whether we are consciously choosing it or we are not. Our body is shedding layers, 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 so many layers, because naturally, as human beings, our body knows what we need. Our subconscious knows that we don't want to be stuck in a place that feels like it's a cage, that feels like it's a container. So I think in 2026, what's going to happen is we're going to start to open our mind's eye. We're going to start to connect even just incrementally, little tiny quantum connections with our spirit because we've been stuck in this physical world, and the world is shifting to much more spirituality, much more feeling and trusting your feelings. And every single one of us evolves. And every single one of us that have been like
and this is not to ridicule anybody else, but the people of us that have been working on ourselves, developing ourselves as leaders for self-love, um, we are like new humans. We are here to teach the people who are still a little bit lower in vibration that love exists no matter what stage, what shape, what color, whatever you are. Love exists for you no matter what. Your light never dies. You are always loved, but the love that we have to build with is within ourselves. And I think that's what we're really stepping into, is recognizing that the love that we give everybody outside of ourselves is something that we have to learn to give inside of ourselves in order to evolve the way that we came down to earth to evolve.
Mm, thank you. I mean, it all does stem from within. And I think if someone is listening and they feel excited about this, but maybe they don't know where to start, or they are living in that fear or the self-doubt, and they just like feel cringy to be like, yeah, I love myself. Like, what's one small actionable step, or yeah, just somewhere they can start to be able to welcome in that beautifully explosive energy?
I would say number one, reaching your podcast is a great place to start because one, you have put the work in for yourself and you are already at that leader position where you are leading self love. That's a great place to start, I believe. And the second part is um, find yourself some mentors, other people that are doing things that you wouldn't normally do. If you want to live in love, and it starts within yourself, but you have no idea how to do it, you have to put yourself in some sort of a space that is what you don't know. Like for me, it started with reading books about how to level up my self-love. And it started with just looking in the mirror and telling myself that I love myself, even listening to affirmations or motivational speeches, like things that I had never experienced in my day-to-day life. And the hard part about that is once you get to a certain point that you get used to hearing love, then all of a sudden, sometimes you have to let go of your surroundings and the people that you are comfortable with, the people you've grown up with, even some family members, because no longer are they aligned with you. But the most important thing to remember is we are all evolving. So at some point, those people that you have let go of will evolve too. And by choosing to prioritize yourself and choose yourself, you are the leader that's going to help all the people that you are connected with rise. So by choosing yourself and getting to know yourself in any way, shape, or form, even if it just starts with an I love you every time you see yourself in the mirror, every time you go to the bathroom, little increments like that will, I want to say, channel or condition your subconscious to start looking at yourself differently. And that's when your awareness and your curiosity will open up, like, oh, wow, this is actually making me feel a little bit different. Or if it isn't the first time, keep going, because compound interest is a real thing. The more time and attention you put into something, the more you're going to get out of it, regardless, whatever it is you're learning or whatever it is you're doing, right? So, yeah, show up for
Mhm.
yourself. That's my answer. Show up for yourself and explore something new.
Yeah, thank you for that. And it's just this reminder that it can be as simple as saying I love you in the mirror, or at the bare minimum just complimenting something that you like
Mhm.
love about yourself or like about yourself. And I think it's, yeah, just in this society that's been so conditioned in a way of like, do more, to have more, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, it literally can be so simple. And then it even goes back to what you said about for you with strengthening your connection to source and all of that. It's like just with the sitting in solitude, and like how it doesn't get more simple than that.
Mhm. It's almost like just getting out of your own way, because I find that our minds are so limited by everything that we've been taught in life. So now we have limitations, just floating. Well, I can't do this because. I can't do this because, but it's all just like conditioning what you've learned. And in order to learn something new, the learning something new today feels like the easy part. The unlearning everything old is where you really gotta train, where you really gotta put in the work to let that go, because it's been however many years you've been learning the same thing. But that's, I think, is also a place of hope too, right? So if you're strong in something, whether it's good or bad, you have a strong belief towards something. If you learn that and it's ingrained in you, imagine what you can do when you start to learn something new. That's something that's actually enjoyable, something that you can actually find peace in, enjoy in, something that actually uplifts you.
I know. It's so much better that way. And it's also goes back to something that you said of like, we are not stuck in anything. Like, we can have periods where we feel stuck, but we always have the choice, the power of choice to, change our circumstances. And sometimes I know for myself, I've been in a season where I'm like, okay, it's taking time, but I can, like, if things aren't, something you always remind me of is like, sometimes the 3D needs time to like catch up. So like we can do the inner work, but sometimes it takes time to be reflected into our outer world. But that trust and surrender, as hard as it can be sometimes, it
Mhm.
ultimately always pays off because yeah, we really always are where we're meant to be. And can you share what you had said to me just a couple days ago about the mantras that you will say to help you if you are feeling stuck?
So I kind of decided that, okay, there's one thing to ask a question. Like when I'm talking with Source, it's one thing to ask a question. Source, can you teach me how to speak confidently on a podcast? It's one thing to ask a question. Then it's another thing to recognize, and I think this has come with my confidence boost, is to declare it, because I recognize that every person on this earth is a living, breathing version of Source, right? We all have spirit within us vibrating and radiating. So now you recognize that you're declaring it basically to yourself. So it's like, Source, teach me confidence. Teach me how to ride this wave and speak the truth and speak to the people. Teach me to show up for myself yet again today. Teach me to remind myself that even though I get nervous, even though I feel anxiety, that I am always safe and I am always protected. Declaring it to the universe is taking it from hoping it will happen and turning it into knowing it's yours.
Hmm. And that remembrance piece as well, because like the
Right.
answers always inside of us, which
Mhm.
is easy to forget, but
Yeah.
I feel like that, like, how has that been powerful for you to declare that you remember?
Um, that's it touches my heart. It's like we are on a journey of remembrance. We came down to this earth as a soul in an earthly vessel, right? And I look at life now as I go through it as almost a treasure map. Like I'm taking the steps, and then I'll hit a treasure. And it has really taught me that this is my map that I have created. So when I get all stuck in my mind, my human essence, and I'm facing doubt or worry or fear, or I just don't know how to do something, I'm like, I remember. I remember. I remember. I remember. I remember. I remember. I know I got this. And by saying that, then I'm shutting off the doubt or the worry or the feeling like I can't do this. I'm shutting that all down because instead I'm changing my thought pattern to actually this is created by me. I created this, so I remember how to do this. And I'm the best at it. Maybe not yet, but I know that I can do this. And reminding yourself that you remember gives you the freedom to choose what your mind does. You know what I mean? Gives you the freedom to decide, like, okay, mind, I know sometimes you get activated. I know sometimes you get afraid. I know sometimes you don't want to keep going because, well, maybe this is hard. But you know what? I remember how to do this. I remember who I am. I remember that I can do anything and all things are possible for me. And if I continue to show up for myself and practice, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I just love how the most powerful ideas and learnings, lessons, like it all is very like simplified. Like it takes us on such a journey of depth and it's so layered, but it's all like so simple, like whether it's yeah, it's just
Mhm.
like remembering our innate power and declaring it and just like being in reflection with ourselves and all of
Mhm.
that and having like awareness about ourselves and our experiences. It's like that's just like that little raindrop in the into the ocean and then how vast it can become.
Yeah,
So magical.
it really is.
Yeah. As we wrap up, is there any lasting thoughts that you'd like to share, or even if for like my babes listening, like if they were to take away one thing from our conversation, like what would you want that to be?
Hmm. I guess this is a big thing for me right now. I guess the biggest thing, and this has trailed over our entire conversation, this moral, this value, this knowing, is just to recognize that you matter. I think all people can sometimes forget that because the outside world doesn't reflect it back to you. The outside world isn't doing everything that would show you that you matter, but I think it's so important for us to remember that we matter because that ignites a flame within us to, again, prioritize ourselves, put ourselves first, say no when we want to say no, say yes when we actually want to say yes. Like, recognizing that your existence is the only existence that is yours. You're the only one that can be you the way that you be you. Other people might have similarities, sure, but similarities don't equal the essence of you, the way that you do things. Like there's one and only you, even if you have a twin. Like, and I think that's so special. Like we are all here on this earth. We are living in our own worlds and we're co-inhabiting this earth while other people live their own worlds. And I think it's important to recognize that sometimes we get caught up in trying to save others or lead others or so on and so forth. But by just pouring into ourselves, filling our own cup, we can get to a space where literally overflow is effortless. Like that's how we can decide if we are really giving genuinely from our heart or if we are overdoing it and pushing ourselves into burnout. Is if it feels effortless, then you know that you're good. Like this is just what I do, you know? But if it feels like you're putting in a whole lot of extra work to like help somebody else, um it's important to remember that we all have the capabilities within ourselves, and while it's amazing to lead, it is also not our jobs to do everything for everybody else. And that's not to say that caregivers and stuff like that are not appreciated because they definitely are. But we need to remember that when we give away pieces of ourselves at the expense of ourselves, it's not really the help that we think we're giving. We're giving away power that's ours that other people don't need because they have the power within them as well. We are all capable. We are all capable. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be faced with the challenges and lessons that we have. We're all capable, and everything in life is meant to be a challenge to help us grow so that we don't get stuck in those spaces for long periods of time to the point where it makes us unhappy and it makes us dread going to work or waking up or something. Life is meant to be enjoyed. Your existence is meant to be enjoyed. You know what I mean? Especially by yourself. If you don't enjoy yourself, what are you doing? You gotta spend time with yourself, man. You are the coolest version of you ever.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah. And like what a fun thing it is to just truly be your own best friend. Like I
the
know you know
freedom.
that well. It's just yeah, it's such a gift. And I really appreciate everything you said because I think it's so important for people to hear, especially during the holiday season, because I know how chaotic it can become. And
Mhm.
a lot a lot of us, like if we find ourselves in uncomfortable family dynamics and like, you're
Yeah.
like, oh, let me just people please to get through this dinner or whatever. It's like that reminder, that like nudge to stand in your power regardless of
Mhm.
what's going
Yeah.
on around you.
Yeah. Just because you're pleasing others and you're giving from your heart and your generosity doesn't mean you have to sacrifice yourself to do it.
Yeah. And it takes
Mhm.
time, but every little increment is worth doing because it will quantify.
Yeah, it piles up. You win at the end, regardless. If you show up for yourself, you'll always win. Whether it takes today or whether it takes tomorrow, the more you show up for yourself, the more you build confidence, the more you start to trust yourself, the more you start to love yourself, the more you enjoy being in that solitude by yourself, the more you respect your time, your attention, and the more you can recognize when other people aren't at a level that they are able to give you the quality that you freely give.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. So beautiful. I definitely encourage my babes who haven't listened to our first episode together to check it out because it'll just even make so much more sense, like what you're speaking to, of just like that showing up for yourself and like what can happen and what has happened. And also, where can people find you so that they can continue to receive your magic beyond this episode?
So currently my two platforms are Facebook and TikTok. My TikTok is the Ascension Corner, and my Facebook is Alyssa Page. And I welcome
Okay.
all views because I love people.
Yes. Yeah. I will have it linked in the description. Thank you so, so much. I'm so excited and just about having this conversation with you and also just to see what 2026 brings as well.
Me too. I'm excited. Yay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone you love and let's keep the conversation going on Instagram at Magically Mindful Podcast. For collaborations and partnerships, email magicallymindfulpodcast@gmail.com. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, please leave us a review so we can continue to grow this amazing community.